Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. I'm just going to make this very short video answering a few questions which I've had about, obviously about Amazon Flex. Thank you for subscribing, by the way, and if you do like this video at the end, please give it a thumbs up. So I've had a few people which have done some messaging about whether doing Amazon Logistics is better or doing Amazon Prime Fresh, which essentially is doing Morrison's store deliveries. And all I can say to that really to begin with is that it all depends on you and how you like to work. So you have to factor in a lot of things when you answer these questions or when you got to think about it for yourself. For example, the first thing I think about, and for me it's here nor there, is where I'm driving to initially start my deliveries. So if you're doing Amazon Logistics, you obviously got to go to an Amazon Logistics centre to pick up your parcels. And for me, my closest one is in Avonmouth. I live the other side to the city, so for me to get there it takes 30 minutes. Here in my city, the closest Morrison's to pick up is Cribs Causeway, which is also a 30-minute drive for me and is quite close to Avonmouth, within reason. So that's the first thing I think about. Which one's closer? Which one is easier for me to start my deliveries? And for me, it is neither. They're both as annoying to get to. They're both half an hour on A roads to get to, and both 50 miles. So I would initially think about your mileage and your distance in time of where you're going. And then secondly, you got to think about the pay. Sometimes when you're doing logistics, you get more enhancements. So for example, the base rate for a 3-hour block is £39. Leave it on the day. This can maybe go up to 45, 50, 60 pounds if you're lucky, if they're short. So then you've got to think about that, whereas Morrison's blocks are shorter. They're only either 2 hours or 1.5 hours long, and usually they are stagnant at between 26 and 28 pounds for the 2-hour block. Occasionally, especially recently, I've had one higher paid Morrison's block, and that went up to £36 for the 2 hours, which was quite good. But usually, as a rule, you get more enhancements, I have found, with the logistics blocks, especially now coming up to Christmas and Black Friday, etc. These are going to be the more busier section of Amazon, I would say, in my experience and opinion. So that's another thing you have to think about. And then you have to think about the type of work you're doing. So obviously both of these deliveries you are delivering, obviously. However, you're doing a lot more multi-delivering, doing Amazon logistics. You're delivering parcels. You may have, for a 3.5 hour block, up to 50 parcels, which means you are loading 50 parcels into your car, albeit they're going to be big parcels and envelopes and anything in between. The weight, you know, sometimes you have these tubs of paste or tubs of stuff for building supplies, and they're like 25 kilos each, and you've got to haul them into your car and back. And then you've got to also think that you're also especially on the evening route, you're going to have a lot of drops. In the daytime, you get more, less drops to parcels. Whereas in the evening, you may do a 3.5 hour block, have 35 parcels, and you've got to do 35 drops because they're all to separate houses. Daytime, a lot less. So you've got to think you could potentially be getting out your car 35 times in those 3 hours, turning the ignition off 35 times, turning the ignition back on 35 times. Which you may argue would enhance the wear and tear of your vehicle. And then which leads me on to when you're doing Morrison's, in a 2-hour block, you may only have 5 or 6 drops, which means then you're only getting out your car 5 or 6 times, or maybe even 3 or 4 times, and taking the paper bags to someone's door. Another good thing about the Morrison side of it is, because people book their 2-hour window for Morrison's, they are more than likely going to be in and ready and waiting for your delivery, for their delivery. A little tip which I would say is use the text feature on the app to text your customer when you're leaving the previous customer's address. So for example, what I did a lot when I was doing the Morrison side of it was, when I was leaving the previous drop and I was, for example, 15-20 minutes away, I would text the customer and say, so it's an automated start. It says, "Hi, my name's Kit, I am your driver," and then you just continue with, "I am 15 minutes away of your shopping." And then if I knew they had an alcohol or an 18+ age verification, which you need for any age verification, I would then put, "If as you've ordered alcohol, please have your photographic ID ready for me when I arrive," full stop. And then they would send this. Some would text back saying, "Okay, thank you," others wouldn't. But the main part of this was that they were expecting you in 15 minutes, which is good because sometimes they're by the door's open, and also they got their ID ready, which, because the majority of people, when I've noticed, they've gone to, and you don't put this, they're not expecting to have their ID checked, although they probably get 3 or 4 emails saying they need to have their ID ready, but they don't have it ready because not very many people do the official age verification check, which you have to do in case there is a secret shopper, but primarily to cover yourself, really. So there's that part of it. I know I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but there is a tip there for you if you are doing Morrison's deliveries, because a lot of the deliveries you would do will contain alcohol, because that is the current state we're living in. A lot of people are drinking alcohol and having it delivered. So they are the primarily things that you have to think about when you're making the decision of which one you want to do. Another question I had, or another anecdote someone wrote on one of my comments, was that they did a 4-hour block and it took them 6 hours, and this is the hardest thing I've ever done. What I would say to that is, it was around those lines. It may not be exactly that, but what I need with stress and say to that is that with any job, you are going to be slow when you start, and you gradually get faster and faster and faster. When I started, I remember I did a blog, and looking back, it was probably really quite simple, but I in fact ran out of time, and for the last 4 parcels I did, I had to go on Google Maps and see where the drop was, because once you run out of time, the app will prompt you to take the parcels back to the depot. However, you can choose yourself to deliver them and then send Amazon Flex Support an email, which I obviously decided to do because the drops were very close. So what I would say to that is, please be patient, you will get faster, and eventually you will do a 3.5-hour block, potentially in 1.5 hours or something like this. So eventually it does get super, super easy. And I've had quite a few questions, maybe because it's the time of the year, about the tax and how tax works. And what I would urge you to say is that you are self-employed, so you have to factor in that you will have to pay, if you're making over £1,000 a year doing self-employed work, you will have to file for a tax return, which I look forward to doing in March. And other from that, any other questions, please comment them down below and I will endeavour to answer them as soon as possible. And if you have any other ideas of videos I can make, please comment these down below. But more importantly, please subscribe and like these videos, because with your support I will continue to make videos to the best of my ability. So I hope you are all really well, and I do hope you have enjoyed this video, and please have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thank you guys.